going down. Tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 61. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And this is the last ever episode from this spot in your house.
Hopefully.
I'm not going to say the last episode ever from your house because we've got Racer and a wreck next year. We got some other things that are happening, but as the traditional podcast location...
We'll say planned episode from the house.
Yeah, I mean, anything could happen. My pole barn could burn to the ground, but the reason this is the last planned episode is because the studio is, for all intents and purposes, complete.
Yep. If you guys have been following stuff on social media, I had some time off around the holidays from work, and I just basically went over and lived at Doug's and just got the studio done, knocked it out. I was like, I'm done. I'm just going to finish.
You, sir, are awesome because you not only got the studio done, I had a tree in my yard that I had fell, and I had already hauled all the brush off, and I'd cut off the smaller stuff, but there were some large trunk sections that I had borrowed a chainsaw from your brother, actually, to cut those up into sections. I was going to give them to your dad for his wood burner, and you did that too.
I'm a glutton for punishment. What can I tell you?
You are an awesome, awesome person, and despite all the crap I give you on this show...
Well, hey, winter's coming.
Oh,
like it's here.
Like, yeah. We're not going to get any snow here tonight, but I just came from up north, was visiting family for Thanksgiving, and they're going to get snow tonight.
Yeah, they're supposed to get, depending exactly, I know right up in that area, but depending exactly where you are, they're talking, I think, like 6 to 9 inches.
Yeah, I think that's a little closer to the western side of the state, but even where my parents are, they could get 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So... we had a week and a half of fall, and now it's wintertime.
90 degrees, then it was like 50 degrees, and now it's like, and you're going to be snowed in. Sorry.
Well, I guess there's no easing into the season. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
In fact, as I was leaving to come here, we had just gotten home, gotten the truck unpacked. Kids went upstairs, were getting their junk out, and I went to the pole barn and helped Jenny grab Christmas decorations. And as I was leaving to come here, she was already like pulling the tree out, and we're just doing a fake tree this year because we have one, and we got too much other junk going on to
go get it,
go slay a real one.
Yeah,
I could cut one of the dead ones down from my property, and we could have like a Charlie Brown
tree. That'd be nice.
Now we've got one of those old retro, like the tinsel trees.
Yeah.
And I don't have the old-fashioned color wheel for it, but what I did get was one of those, they're like the laser show. It puts the dots of red and green lights all over a wall.
It's going to set it up away from the tree a little bit. And
yeah,
show
and
it just
shines on the tinsel tree, and it kind of glimmers as, the air rustles by it, and it's perfect. It fits the 1970s house we have.
Yep. We're not doing a tree this year.
Really?
We got cats. And those cats would be hanging from the tree.
Now you really, really have to do a tree and a live cam. Like, people can go to chadcat.com
just do a live
and view the live cam of the cats destroying the tree.
Tree's down again.
I don't see what the problem is here. I think this is gold you're missing out on.
Oh, I don't want to be picking that tree up all the time or watch it catch fire in my living room.
Guy wire it to the wall.
These cats are thoroughly nuts anyway. They hang from the curtains and everything else.
They actually do that stuff, like the cartoons?
Oh, yeah. The one cat was hanging from the curtain over here in my dining room, and I went over to, get the cat off of the curtains because it's just swinging from the curtains all over the place. So I'm like, okay, I'll just pick the curtain up and kind of shake it, and the cat will fall. No, the cat just got higher off the ground and was swinging faster.
Maybe we shouldn't leave here. Maybe there's too much stuff we're going to be missing if we leave.
I think the stuff will follow. I don't think that'll be a problem.
Probably so. But I purposely, when I framed the shot, I mean, we don't have tape marks on the desk or anything. We just kind of camera looks good here. You can see our faces close enough. I purposely left a little bit of the fridge in because I had been zooming into where you couldn't see the fridge. So I wanted everybody to be able to say goodbye.
Say goodbye to the fridge.
To the fridge.
It's fine. Bye, little fridge.
We could take a picture of your fridge and have it on the desk.
Just set it up so it looks like it's off to the side somewhere.
Yeah, like you'd have a family picture, picture of your wife, little 5x7 on your desk. It'll be the fridge.
That's okay. My other fridge is now the beer fridge at the shop, so.
True. And actually, to adorn that, we are heading to PRI. I know we've been talking about that a little bit, but it's coming up pretty quick. It's Friday the 7th.
I think that's right. I think that's when we're going. It's Friday's the 7th.
Yes, it is, because December 2nd is next Sunday.
Yeah.
And December 2nd is episode 62.
That's
which
when
is
we're
the start
recording
of
it.
the second season.
Yeah, that's when we're recording it. So
You couldn't have planned that any better with all those twos.
yeah, that's something.
It's a weird coincidence. We're not going to
So-
say we planned it.
We have a couple special guests coming. We're not going to say who they are.
You'll find out when you see that episode come out on Tuesday the 4th.
Yeah. So
But it will be the official marker delineation between seasons 1 and 2, and it will be the first of many, many episodes to come in the studio.
Yep.
And I'm really stoked.
I'm excited to get in that studio. It's convenient for me here because it's at my house, but we can set that up exactly the way we want to. Things will just be better. They'll just be all around better, I think.
And it'll switch to being more convenient for me.
Yes.
'Cause all I have to do is stumble out of my house and up the little hill.
Yeah.
But we'd been talking about this. I think you kind of were brainstorming about the idea of a studio around this time last year. We were out in the barn, freezing our butts off, making tie rods for Wolverines or something like that.
Yeah.
And you were kind of looking around and you said, if we sectioned this off, we could have an enclosed space and it could be a dedicated studio.
Yep.
And here we are.
We've done it. We're missing a couple wall plates, and the baseboard heaters need to go in there. But
That's going to happen this week. That's on my list because it really won't take that long to do. But honestly, we insulated that thing so darn well that right now we're heating it with one of these little space heaters like you'd buy at Walmart for 15 or 20 bucks.
like the really cheap ones, not even like the nice ones.
And that thing comes on for about 10 minutes out of every hour
At most.
and tops up the heat and then turns back off. So it
obviously isn't running for 10 minutes straight. It's like 10 seconds, shuts off for,
So, yeah, we're not really worried about keeping it warm out there, and it's quiet.
Oh, it's real quiet. Doug already lives kind of in the middle of nowhere. And then you add on to that how well we insulated it, and it's a building within a building, and it's right for a studio. It's just right.
It's perfect. And I'm really excited that we get to decorate this thing with your memorabilia. We'll have a few things in there of our own, but 99% of what's going to be in this studio is going to be stuff that other racers gave us or listeners or whoever. So we want this space to feel like your space as much as ours.
Yep.
Just like we've tried to make this podcast yours as much as ours. So
Yeah.
it's just going to be really, really cool. Plus, it's going to give us the ability to have live people on a lot easier.
Yeah. There's not a lot of room here, if you guys can't tell. This is not a small room, but what you guys don't see is the absolutely massive desk that the camera is sitting on.
It pretty much takes up the room. So it's great for an office.
Yeah, it's Deskosaurus. It's 7 feet tall and probably a good 10 or 15 feet wide, and
Oh, yeah.
like 8
And
or
you
10
can see
feet deep.
we're sitting at the end of it. The camera is 6 feet back from us right now.
And the desk goes another 3 or 4 feet past that. It's ridiculous. My wife said she wanted the biggest desk I could find. This is the biggest one I could find.
You did what you were supposed to do. How did that happen?
Well, I went to an extreme. That's what I do best.
True. Yeah, if you tell Chad, I want the biggest whatever, or make this the most insane whatever, that is exactly what you will get from Chad.
I built a fish pond thing in the front of my old house, my previous house. And I told my wife, I think I want to build like this little pond with a waterfall thing.
Oh,
in front
Lord,
of
I
the
remember
house.
that.
And she goes, yeah, okay, whatever. And she was just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever, leave me alone. You do what you're going to do. Go dig a hole in the front yard. I don't care. So I dug this giant hole, and I put I think it was a 3/4 horse sump pump motor.
Like 600 gallons a minute.
Yeah. I stacked flagstone stones up about 4 feet high, and I had this waterfall. It was nearly a water park in my front yard.
It was.
I had raccoons coming there and eating frogs, and it was wildlife.
I think they've torn it out because I actually
They
drove
did.
by your old house and I was hoping they still had it.
No, they tore it out. They're like, what insane person built this?
I thought it was awesome. Actually, you've given me a great idea for stupid stuff with Chad.
A water park?
No. I don't know if you had a plan for the end of the show, but I've got one now.
Okay, that's fine.
Problem solved.
Done.
Somewhere in here, we probably should talk about side-by-side.
Racing stuffs. So it's this week. This week, Honda is supposed to release the Talon, or what
Dun, dun, dun.
what we've all branded the Talon. I don't remember seeing anything that Honda's actually said its name is the Talon.
No, that's all been speculation, and I mean, again, I could be wrong. It just doesn't sound like a very Honda-ish name.
It might be, it might not be. They got the Pioneer. I mean,
That's a little, yeah.
and the big red.
I guess if they're trying to make it sound kind of hard edge, but
Yeah. I don't know.
watch it be called the Pioneer Sport, and it's just gonna make everybody mad.
There's something going around Facebook right now where this guy says, Honda hasn't officially released anything. He's trying to draw traffic to his website. And you know what? Good enough. I don't care. It doesn't hurt me that he does. But Honda hasn't released or said anything. So don't fall for the trick. Honda won't say a word until November 27th. They just won't. Honda's not the ones to leak it.
Yeah. So
I still don't know if it's going to be that thing that we saw the leaked pictures of.
I don't either. I was dubious that this would ever see the light of day. So the fact that there's an impending announcement alone is kind of amazing to me. But I really don't believe anything that's out there. I mean, I'll believe whatever it is when I see it. And if it turns out to be the Talon and those were the pictures, then so be it. But I'm ready to be completely surprised by anything they throw out there.
Yeah.
Because it's been it's been 3 years? It's been so long that people have been teasing that Honda was ready to do something.
I think I caught wind that they were actually going to release a sport side-by-side. There was always murmurings of it, but, someone says Honda's releasing, Honda should release a sport side-by-side. Someone else hears that and thinks Honda is releasing a sport side-by-side.
It's the old telephone game.
Yeah. So I think about a little over a year and a half ago, I heard that Honda was going to release one, but there was zero timeline on it. It was like in the future. I mean, when? Who knows?
Well, it's open-ended. If they ever do it, then
Right.
technically it's correct.
They're right, yeah.
And I think people, too, think that maybe they can push the market. If enough people say Honda's doing this, that maybe if Honda wasn't planning on it, then magically, their top execs will decide that
They will.
oh, we should, and, boom, all of a sudden magic happens. But
It's not how it works. Plus, normally
Not
it
really.
takes a lot longer to get to develop a separate machine.
And the sport space, I know this sounds a little crazy, is pretty crowded.
It is.
Polaris is selling a ton of units, for whatever you want to say about Polaris, whether you're a Can-Am fan or Yamaha or whatever. Polaris is selling the heck out of the XP Turbos and the XP 1000s and even, some of the other machines they've got out there.
They have the market cornered. I mean, let's be real honest.
Can-Am is selling every X3 they're willing to make because honestly, I think they could produce more. I think they're just happy at the production level they're making them because they can get the price they want out of them.
Yeah.
So they're selling all of them that they are content to sell. And I think Yamaha probably would like to sell some more, but again, they're starting to come into that third wheel in the sport market. And it's a great machine. There's nothing wrong with it. But, in terms of sales, they are further back. And then you've got Wildcat still kind of nipping around in there, and they've got the new Double X, but I don't think their sales are scaring anybody in the Can-Am or the Polaris farm. And now you're talking about throwing
A Honda
in there that, unless I'm wrong, is probably going to be underpowered compared to the rest of the market.
I would say, and I've said it the previous podcast, but I would say the Honda is definitely going to get those guys that are older in the sport market that want the reliability and don't need every single horsepower.
Yeah, I think there's a place for it, but I don't think Honda thinks this is going to be a major profit center for them.
Yeah, I also don't think that they're under any delusions that they're going to overtake the entire market with this one.
Right.
I think what they're doing is smart. So don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing Honda for this, but I think they're of the mindset that they have a loyal following, a loyal customer base that is looking elsewhere in the market to another brand because they aren't delivering. So they're going to give them something. So their loyal fan base or loyal customer base will stay with Honda, even if it's not quite the performing machine that other brands are.
Oh, and it'll still be a good machine. It's probably going to have an outstanding suspension on it. It's going to be, when I say underpowered, that's just compared to 172 horse Can-Am, 168 horse Polaris.
Well, or if you compare it to the naturally aspirated 110 on the just NA XP Polaris, and what's the X3, they're 100 horse or something like that, 90.
Yeah, it's like 95, I think.
Whatever they are. I think it'll be around that, maybe down around like 94, 95-ish.
Yeah, that's kind of what we'd predicted before, right in the middle of the road. And so I think it does fill a certain niche, and it's the people who already have Pioneers that maybe want something sportier, they're going to sell some. I'm not saying the thing is going to be a flop, but you are introducing it into a relatively crowded market, and you're not going to get any of the diehard performance seekers over into the Honda camp with this, unless they just do something completely different than the history of the company would suggest that they would do.
Yep. I'm excited to see what they bring. I'm going to say that.
I am too.
I
mean,
don't
the more the
think
merrier
it's
in the
going to be the
side-by-side
machine
world.
for me, though.
No.
I mean, I didn't even buy the extended Polaris warranty because I'm like, I told the salesman, I'm like, I void warranties, man. That they're not going to honor anything of mine. You've done what to this?
Yeah. And the pictures. Oh no, I took really good care of it, and then the pictures
social
come
media.
out of,
not good. So
Chad 5 feet in the air, and Chad on the roof, and
look at that.
I never raced it. Why are you on this racetrack then? I was sweeping.
I was just checking for bumps and stuff.
Exactly. But I'm excited, and I'm by no means saying that there's no room in the market. It's interesting move for them because it is a crowded market already on the sports, sports side by side. And as much as they're catching on, it's still a relatively small portion of the market in terms of overall recreational vehicles that you could spend money on.
They're expensive. I think that's the majority of it. I mean, I talked to a guy today, and we got to talking about side-by-sides, and he said that's something I just don't know how a lot of people justify to own and to race. And it's like, I mean, yeah.
And the answer is no one justifies it. They just turn a blind eye and enjoy it.
I'm ignorantly happy. I mean, it's just what it is.
Don't talk about the money. Let me be happy.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about a base level high performance like an XP Turbo, 20,000. An X3, 25. I mean, you get up in the dynamics and stuff, you're 25-ish, right around in there. And then you start accessorizing.
The sky is the limit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've talked about this on a previous podcast as well. If you really wanted to, you could build a truck for off-road.
Oh, yeah.
For what you would sink into, a side-by-side by the time you really hopped it up.
Yeah. But it's a love.
Yeah,
you have to love it.
And they're lighter weight. They're not as big as a truck. I mean, I understand there are differences.
Yeah.
But it's really, you kind of come from that school of thought of, I'd never spend that much money building a truck, but you can easily dump that into a side-by-side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But they are fun.
They are just so much fun. My son, the stupid thing is I haven't really got to drive mine this week at all because, I take that back. I drove it over to like my parents' house, but that's not far or really any fun other than I was jumping the ditches. But my son drove it to go take the trash out earlier today, and he starts it, and I yelled through the house. I said to my wife, "Is it always that loud?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's shaking the house." She goes, "Yes, we know when you come and when you go." I'm like, all right.
You're not sneaking around in it.
No. It is just thumping just right in the garage when he started it. I'm like, I like that noise. But I'm sad that I haven't got to drive it a lot lately. We've kind of had bad weather.
And honestly, we've been racing a lot with other people.
Yeah.
And doing a lot of race coverage and other side-by-side stuff. And
the studio, the whatevers.
It actually occurred to me as I was up north visiting for Thanksgiving that you haven't driven that a lot.
No, I just haven't.
It's been parked.
Yeah. And I'm not even remotely thinking of getting rid of it. I just need to make more time to drive it. But
if
like
you
said,
find a way to make time, let me know. I want some of that.
Just sleep less. That's all I figured out. If you just don't sleep, you got like an extra 6 or 8 hours in there that sky's the limit.
I know there are people that literally subscribe to that mentality. I am not one of them, and I've realized I never will be because I'm miserable.
Oh, see, I'm perfectly happy not sleeping.
Oh, not me.
I don't
Takes
care.
all type to make the world go around, but dude, I am so much better when I've got sleep under my belt.
Oh, yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I lay there in bed and I'm like, I could be doing this, but that's noisy and I'll get yelled at by my wife.
Oh, I think that's the difference. You lay awake in bed. I literally hit the pillow, 2 minutes of sleep. 2 minutes later, I'm asleep, and then the alarm goes off in the morning.
Oh. Well, see, I go to sleep quick. My wife will tell you that. Like, when I go to bed, I go to sleep and I go to bed. But I'm ready to get up early. Like, I could be doing things. I need to go do things.
Yeah, I don't get up as early as you do. I mean, I get up at 5. That's sleeping in for you.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, and even when I get up at 5, I'm like, I've woken up a dozen times between 3 and 5. I'm like, I could get up. Nope, it's too early. Make too much noise. I get yelled at.
Yeah, no, I don't suffer from that affliction at all.
Yeah. No, it is what it is.
That's why I look so good.
Maybe that's why I look so rough.
Anyways,
moving on.
Speaking of side-by-sides, the Baja 1000.
Yep, that ran and wrapped up. It wasn't this weekend. It was actually last weekend, but the official final results were not in when we recorded last week's show, so you're getting it this week.
And I get to out my wife here because every time I see this word, I think of this. So my wife is a wonderful, amazing woman. One of her gifts is not spelling.
Not mine either, but...
No. But she went to Taco Bell, and this honestly happened before we had even met.
Okay.
So she's telling me this story.
Okay.
But when they first released the Baja Gordita,
Okay.
she rolls through a Taco Bell drive-thru and orders a Baja Gordita because she assumed you spell Baja with an H or something.
Yeah.
So when she sees Baja, she's not thinking Baja.
Yep.
So she orders a Baja Gordita, and the lady behind the drive-thru on the other side of the microphone kind of did this condescending pause and then click. You mean Baja? Yes, that.
I want that. It looks tasty on the picture.
But that's been 20 years ago now since she did that, and I can't not see it or hear it in my head that way when I see the word.
Yep.
So the Baja 1000 is done.
The Baja 1000. So I'll let you read the top thing, and then I'll go on to another topic to deal with the Baja 1000. Now I can't say that. It's a Baja 1000.
So top honors went to number 2971. That is Wayne Matlock. Finished in 20 hours, 25 minutes, and 18 seconds, which gives him an average speed of 39.51 miles an hour.
That doesn't sound fast.
That's screaming.
I get that. I'm just saying, when you say 39 miles an hour, that doesn't sound fast.
If you were watching the Indy 500 and the average was 39.5 miles an hour, you'd be thinking, did they run this in 1910?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
these guys are running over extremely rough terrain, and there's pits in there that they are stopping and rebuilding and switching drivers, and it's not like splashing fuel and they got hydraulic or air jacks that lift the car up already under there and it just shoots it up off the ground, and it's not how it goes.
No, that's not how it goes at all. So really that's very impressive because it's amazing if you take over the course of 20 hours, give or take, and you're sitting for, say, an hour of that, like you said, for pits or stops you have to make or stuff like that, your average speed just plummets.
Yeah.
Because now you're just throwing zeros at that average.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take a whole lot to knock that down. Second place got number 2917, Derek Murray and Jason Murray. I like the / etc.
Yeah. Others.
And others. 21 hours and 13 minutes. Number 2966, Rise Millen and Mitch Guthrie finished up in 21 hours, 27 minutes. Number 2921, Brett Comiskey and Peter Carr finished in 21 hours, 53 minutes. And 2978, Louis Fontanelle. I think I pronounced it, Fortinel, sorry, and Adrian Lopez. They finished in 22 hours and 52 minutes.
Yep.
So not really a huge spread. In fact, when you get in there, you're going from 21:13 to 21:27 to 21:53.
Yeah.
And then you got about an hour jump to 5th place.
But the real surprise was first to second.
Yeah, you're going from 20:25 to 21:13. So basically, you're talking a 45-minute-ish differential.
Yeah. That's a lot between first and second.
It really is.
Good on them, man. I mean, you got to think. And when we're talking about these times, they're running for 20 hours.
It's
nuts.
They're
keeping the same machine. I mean, they may break something, but they're fixing it and still finishing in 20-ish hours, 21 hours. That's amazing to be able to do. I read the statistic on it, and I think it was, I'm wanting to say it was 278 machines started. The total Baja, I don't think that was, the class we just read was the forced induction UTV class.
Yeah.
That there's other classes.
So these are the big boys.
Yeah. But I think it was 278 that entered and 175 finished or something like that. That's actually not bad odds.
No, that's above our 50% we usually figure will finish a race after they've started.
Now, we're talking about XC racing where it's tight and you can rip things off quite easy.
But still, I mean, other than short course racing, because you're only talking 12, maybe 14 laps, it's a mile, it's all pretty controlled. I mean, the attrition rate there is pretty low.
Yeah.
But if you're talking actual, this is not cross-country racing, but in a way it kind of is, because they're just out there in the terrain. There's just no trees in the desert.
Right.
But they're out in the elements. There's, that rock you didn't see that just tore through your tire or broke a suspension part.
Right.
I mean, you're out in it. It is not a groomed track. So anytime more than 50% of the buggies finish, I think that's a pretty good race.
Yeah. Now, their tracks are nice and wide, and normally what does the buggies in is the speed.
Yeah.
Whereas in XC racing, sometimes it's just too tight to fit. I mean,
yeah,
you got zero chance of fitting. So, the shock therapy machine, did you see what happened to them?
I didn't see, no.
A spectator was driving the wrong way on the race course.
I did see
and
that.
hit them head on.
I did see that.
It's not the one where the trophy truck was jumping, but you saw their UTV.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that was them. Oh, my word.
They drove it to the next checkpoint. It folded up that car. The spectator car. It folded the spectator's car up. It was like a Jeep or an Explorer or some sort of SUV, mid-sized. But the shock therapy guys drove it to the rest. I didn't hear what was done as far as what score the organization who puts on the Baja 1000. I didn't hear what was done. I guess the police wanted... So they hit head on.
Yeah.
The police come. The police is like, everybody's going to jail. All the vehicles are getting impounded. Now, that didn't end up happening, but that was their initial response. Like, this is what we're doing. Because basically, the police were saying, SCORE pays to race on the roads, but SCORE doesn't own the roads. So, and they were on, they were on the marked course, which was on a road. But the spectator person was driving the wrong way on the road. They should not have been. There was signs and markers for them not to do so, but they were. So obviously they didn't end up impounding the shock therapy buggy, and they drove it on to the next checkpoint, and they were able to fix it there, and they finished. I don't remember where they finished, but it wasn't real high. I mean, obviously when you're there and the police are there and everything, that's you're not, your average speed is just drilling through the ground.
That's not helping you at all.
So no, but everybody was okay. The one guy, I think he tore his knee up, not real bad, scratched it, cut it a little bit, and just from the sudden jar, and I guess he hit the dash or hit something in the cabin, but they were okay. But yeah, that was interesting. And then I think most everyone's seen the trophy truck video of it flying and taking that Jeep's mirror off.
I'm just trying to fathom the mentality of somebody that thinks, I know what's going on. All these people are not lining the road to wave to me. There's a race. I think I'm just going to drive backwards on the track.
Up a hill,
completely blind. I just can't fathom the mentality.
Another another foot or 6 inches, if that trophy truck had been to the right or the Jeep or whatever it was to its right because they were coming head on.
Yeah, it took the passenger side mirror and stuff off of that Jeep.
They would have probably been dead because it would have just rolled over that thing. And
oh, yeah. They would have been in through the windshield.
Yeah. The trophy truck probably would have been fine, but the tires would have just flattened the roof on the passengers of that Jeep.
Yeah.
That was rough. I don't know. It makes you wonder what Mexico, what they'll do. Are they going to allow SCORE to have it on the roads like that again? Or is it all going to have to be off-road and maybe just road crossings?
Yeah, it's really tough to say, or if there's some way SCORE can... There's no real good way to enforce no vehicles on the track. At Heartland Challenge, you couldn't have any vehicles on the track, or you and your team were disqualified. But those were the only type of vehicles that would have been on the track, would have been something associated with the team.
Right.
Here, you've got so many spectators, they're not associated with the race team. They're just a spectator.
Yeah.
So you can't really penalize anybody, and that's a lot of track to police. I mean, it's not like a 5-mile loop.
I think this year was just over 800 miles, I'm wanting to say.
There's no way to keep a handle on all that.
You can't police a tenth of that.
No.
I mean, try and police 80 miles of track or something. You couldn't. There's no possible way.
We talked about in episode 60, you can't even
police 5 miles.
A 5-mile loop. You can't really police it.
You just can't. I mean, you could with enough people, but it's no way. It's not feasible. We'll put it that way. So it made for interesting stuff. It reinforced something that I've heard several people say, especially who watch the XC racing. Doug says it every time he announced that, never turn your back to the action.
Yep.
But somebody else always said, these people are out there racing. This is their job. If you get on that track, they will run you over.
Yeah.
Because you stepped in their space. You stay in your space and you'll be fine most of the time. I mean, things happen.
I had the whole practice speech that, the MWXC is concerned for your safety as well. And we ask you to remain behind the marked lines at all times, never cross the track without looking and listening. And remember, never turn your back to the action.
You sound very announcery.
And I even would go so far as to, if I knew the course was one where people had a lot of access to it, I'd reinforce that a couple different ways. Sometimes people just, okay, that's the boilerplate I always hear. I would try and reinforce that even during Pee-wee races. I'd remind people, look, you've got a 50-pound kid on a 60-pound quad. It's still going to hurt when they hit you at 25 miles an hour.
It can very easily break your leg.
Yeah.
And you don't want a broken leg now, do you?
Now scale that up to an 1,800-pound car going 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. Or a 2,500-pound car. Some of these cars are really pushing the weight.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing, and we've talked about it several times on the show here, that you just have to pay attention, and that may be kind of the downfall of some of the GNCC stuff and all that.
My guess with this, God's honest truth, nothing's going to change.
I don't think it will because it's in Mexico. If it was in the States, yeah.
Oh, there'd be some sort of protest and banners and signs and whatever, but
Sarah McLachlan would sing a song where puppies are crying and
exactly. But I think this is a big deal for Mexico. It shows, it gives the world, some insight into their country. It becomes kind of their stage for a while.
It's massive tourism.
Yeah, why would you mess with that?
I agree.
A couple things happened. Nobody was killed. You know what? Even at some point, if somebody does happen to get themselves killed, I don't mean to sound callous because it would be a terrible thing. I just don't think it's going to really change anything. You can't. It's an 800-mile-long race, and if one stupid person walks out in the middle of the track, it just is what it is.
So I don't think...
Well, look at the Isle of Man TT.
Oh, yeah.
Since they've run that, 160-some-odd people have killed themselves running it?
Right.
They're still going to do it.
Right. I don't think I ever talked about this, but the last side-by-side race for MWXC in Paragon, there was 2 airlifts done that weekend. And so my wife is a member of a local Facebook group that I just call them the gossipers because that's all they do is they jump on there and they want to, gossip and talk. Well, what was this? I heard something. I heard a siren go by and then everybody either speculates or they spread gossip and rumors about it, whatever. So my wife, when I get home on Sunday, she says, so I hear there was another airlift out of there. Yep. She goes, well, you better expect a protest, not from her, from other people. You better expect a protest because they don't like that. I'm like, what are they going to do about it? Well, they have to live in this area, and there's, they don't want people getting hurt around here and having to airlift people out. I'm like, so what, are they going to shut down the highways because people are driving and have to be airlifted out? And
it's private property.
Yeah.
There's nobody. This isn't some cute little neighborhood with a neighborhood association that has an easement on your property.
Subdivision racing.
Yeah. Although that sounds really, really fun. Can you imagine going into a planned community with the nice little gardens and everyone's got their lawn mowed the same height and just like tearing through there with UTVs?
Cutting the track right through somebody's yard gnome and taking its head off.
We would get to do this exactly one time, but it would be glorious.
Yes, it would.
But yeah, there's nothing you can do to prevent that. It's private property unless there's a county ordinance of some sort. And that's the thing about living where we live. Most people live here because they want to be left to themselves. They don't want people telling them what they can or can't do with their land or their property. And so nobody's going to support a massive county ordinance that says you can't do this on your land.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
No. Like I said, just a bunch of busybodies that want to complain and want to do whatever.
Is what it is. I mean, racing is a dangerous sport. That's why you sign a waiver when you go in just to be a spectator, and you sign another one when you actually go to race.
Yeah. Even if you're not driving, you're riding in the passenger seat, you're signing that waiver. The second one, not the first one.
That crossed my mind several times. I am signing something that says if I get killed because of Chad... Actually, it never crossed my mind. I couldn't wait to sign and get in the buggy. I didn't give a crap.
Let's go. Yeah. No, but it just differences in how people think.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But it's, congratulations to the top 5. And honestly, everybody, even the people who didn't finish, that is a bucket list type of item. I mean, every year you have teams that race, that's the only time they're ever going to race.
Yeah.
And they did it just to do it. And even if they didn't finish, they probably had a heck of an experience. And so I really mean it. Congratulations to everybody that has the guts to do it, because we regularly talk about how expensive it is to race just XC.
Yeah, local XC.
To put together a trip like this with all the spare parts you need and a team and the entry fees and everything else.
Chase vehicles and personnel to run chase vehicles and everything else.
If you're not figuring 6 figures, then you are shorting yourself.
Probably. Oh, yeah. They're companies that you can actually, if you want to run the Baja, but you don't have the infrastructure, like the people and the machine, they have machines. Basically, you fly in, they set up your fuel stops, they have people for your fuel stops, you just get in the machine and you drive. And that's it. I mean, I don't know what it costs. I'm sure it's very expensive, but that would be fun.
That would be a hoot.
I would still like to go. So if anybody who is like in competition with the Baja 1000, like you run it, and you guys need somebody to run a chase truck or something. I mean, fuel it, do whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
I'll go. Like, very seriously, get in contact with us. I'll go next year just for the experience of it. It'd be fun.
Well, if you think you're going without me.
I'm going. If you only need one, I'm going.
Fair enough.
Okay, now we'll take Doug, too.
In the trunk.
You can...
What's that banging noise? Don't worry about it.
It's fine. It's fine. It's supposed to be like that.
Well, one other project that got wrapped up this week was Mr. Steve Mueller's video racing resume thingamajigger.
Yep. It is sent off to the powers that be at different places. We'll just put it that way. And he wanted to get it to them before Thanksgiving. And
mission accomplished.
Yep. It made it to him. So.
I saw you did a revamp of it, too.
Yeah. I liked my revamp.
Lots of cats.
There was cats.
Cats everywhere.
We didn't really set one to the public just for, we'll say, to keep reputations intact.
Exactly. We've put some fun stuff out there we've done before, but I don't want to say it's getting more serious around here, but in some ways it is. So we kind of have to draw that line at times. I mean, we've even had discussions about, we want to talk about this, but we probably shouldn't.
We can't say that anymore now, can we?
Look at us exercising discretion.
I just can't say certain things. I'm not exercising any discretion.
What you can't see under the desk here is I have a instant acting tranquilizer. If Chad gets mouthy, I just jam it in his leg.
If I just fall over, y'all know what happened.
The camera pans over slightly, so I'm in the middle, and we finish this podcast.
Doug hit me with a horse tranquilizer.
Whatever it takes.
But
it is out there on Steve Mueller's. It's on his.
Yeah,
YouTube
he's got
page,
it
right?
unlisted right now. I think he'll probably open it up to everybody once the people that he's wanting to see it first, once they see it. He's wanting to get it to the normal people.
When that... I like the way you put that. He's wanting to get it to normal people. That does not include us.
No.
But once that is made public, we'll put that out there so you guys can take a peek at it. Really, as we're transitioning into season 2, sponsorship stuff is really, this is the hot point of the year.
Yeah.
But looking forward into your 2020 campaign as you're racing in 2019, if you are interested in having us do a purpose-built racer resume for you, a video resume, now's the time we need to hear about that. Because we need to start making plans for being at specific races, getting specific footage of you. Definitely, if you're on the podium, we want to be there to record the whole thing. We want to make sure that we have plenty of material to put together a purpose-built race resume and not just something that, okay, we had to pick and choose through some photos we happen to have, a couple video clips where we were actually filming someone else and you were in the background.
You got in the shot.
Yeah, somehow you got in the shot. I mean, we're going to have a lot of material, I think, of all the people we normally follow, but the best result is going to be if we know that during 2019 you want us to be very intentional about some specific things, and we can work with you ahead of time to kind of frame that race resume the way you want it to flow, and we can make some suggestions and kind of build the whole thing. But as with most things, the best result comes from planning. Yeah. So if you have an interest in it, please get in touch with us before... Really, the race season starts in March, so sometime earlier in the year, like January or February, would be ideal. After the holidays are done and you've kind of gotten through that lull in the season, the banquets are over with, and you're starting to plan your campaign, that's a really good time to start thinking, do I really want to tack on something like this?
Yeah.
Shameless plug, but it is something we offer because we enjoy the sport. And we want to help you guys promote yourself. And I think it's something that we can do for you that really is going to help set you apart from the pile of other resumes on paper that a lot of these different, dealerships or parts manufacturers, whoever you're going for, they're sifting through a lot of that stuff.
Right. There's lots. And if you can make yourself stand out to where it's one of those, this guy's put some effort into this, and it's not just, he's got a couple pictures from his grandma's cell phone and,
Yeah, and then just a bullet point list of races you've run on white paper,
Yeah. There's just better ways to do it in this day and age. So, yeah, like Doug said, it's kind of a shameless plug, but it's something you guys need to think about going into the next season. It is planning, and I know sometimes racers aren't the best at the planning thing, but...
We're offering valuable services.
We are. Trying to.
We're going to see how this whole thing goes.
Yeah.
But that was another part of the studio, was it gives us a chance to bring you into the studio and actually do some interview style questions, and we can weave those in. In fact, we did that with Steve, and you'll see those when it gets released.
Yeah.
So again, it just gives us space to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and it gives us, the studio gives us all kinds of other things to do also. But yeah, it really does help with having dedicated space that we can set up, and that just, it benefits everyone, including us. So,
speaking of communication with your sponsors, let's talk about communications. Intercoms.
Oh, yeah.
Radios.
You kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, what did I do? Did I forget to contact the sponsor and tell them something?
No, dude, you ruined my perfect segue. Thank you.
Sorry.
Come on, man, roll with it.
Okay, we're going with it now. So, communications in the buggies. Your thoughts, sir? I'll let you go first.
I really, really like having an intercom in the buggy. I've raced with racers who have not had them. I've raced with racers who had. I've raced with racers who have had really loud exhaust. some of them with fairly quiet exhaust. And hands down, regardless of how noisy the machine is, the intercom really is a nice communication tool where you don't feel like you're screaming over the exhaust note, or you're screaming over the buggy next to you if you're in a tight situation, or if you're turning your head away. And that's a big one that I think most people overlook. They think, okay, let's say I'm driving. If you're looking at me, okay, chances are I'm going to hear you even without an intercom if you're yelling. But what if you're looking over there at something that you're trying to clock that's dangerous, or somebody's coming up on the, your rear quarter and you're turned.
And I got my head turned out this way.
I can't hear you at all with a helmet on.
Right.
There's no chance. With an intercom, I can hear you now.
So let's divide this up into two sections. The intercom portion first, and then we'll get to inner buggy communication.
Yes.
As far as buggy to buggy. Intercom, I won't race one if I'm the driver, if it's my buggy. I will always put one in a machine.
You won't race without one.
Yes. Did I? Whatever. I might have said
it came
that
out
wrong.
weird.
Okay, whatever. I won't race without one. There we go. Like Doug said, it makes the communication easy. Like you never really miss anything. But
Right.
the thing also that I think it does, and I've noticed it several times, is bad communication is worse than no communication.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I've said to someone something who didn't have an intercom, they thought I said something else, and they reacted based on what they thought I said instead of what I actually said.
Yeah.
And that is bad. The other thing that an intercom system does that I really do like, you can talk at a normal level in the buggy. You can communicate with voice inflection also. If we're coming up on a corner, we'll say that I know is a right-hand turn that you've kind of been taking a little fast, and I'm the co-driver. I'm going to say right-hand turn. If it's one that you have blown a lot or you're coming up on it real hard, I'm going to be right-hand turn, and I'm going to put a little more emphasis on it, and you can hear that in my voice instead of just I'm reminding you that there is a right-hand turn.
And that's an outstanding point because, again, without an intercom, if you were yelling the entire time, that's the one volume level you have to get the driver's attention. And 30 minutes into a 60-minute race, that's just more noise.
Yeah.
That they're just, they're tuning it out, just like the annoying exhaust note because their muffler fell off. I say that because that happened to Plank a couple times, and
Yes.
I was with him for one of them. Wow, was that loud.
Even for an 800, just a screaming.
Fortunately, we'd been through enough at that point that he knew the track, and I basically didn't talk. I just hand signaled because there was zero chance that he was going to be able to hear me over
Right.
that 800, basically straight piped.
Yeah. So,
But like you said, now you have a differentiation where when your voice inflection goes up or you get louder, they're like, oh, I should actually pay attention to this.
I'm paying more attention. Yeah. And, also, I did it several times. I was bad about it when I was driving that Doug would say something, I wouldn't respond.
Yes.
He admits, he'll say that. I admit it. And I would say to him after, I don't know, a minute or so,
Or a lap.
Yeah, or a lap. I hear what you're saying. I'm just not responding. And just so I can tell him. But I'm processing the information because I can hear everything you're telling me. It's not like I've missed something or I have to, like Barry even had to do, and Matt Hecker would do it because neither one of them have intercoms. I would yell something and they would just take a hand off the wheel to give me a thumbs up to tell me that they heard me. And
Yeah.
that's great. They acknowledged it, but they're now not quite as in control of the buggy as they were because they're having to take one hand off and they're focusing on that instead of it just okay or yeah or whatever. Steve has an intercom in his, greatest thing ever, because you just sit there and we're talking back and forth and we're just communicating, and not in an excited way, not in a yelling way, not anything like that. It's just communication back and forth. You were a little tight on this one. Don't forget there's a stump coming up here on the right. Hug to the left a little bit. And he'd say, okay.
I think the other thing that's really good about it that gets overlooked is the ability to talk to your driver about stuff that may not be race related to calm them down. If you're yelling and they can't hear you because, just the amount of noise in a buggy and your only communication is you yelling, if the race goes wrong for some reason and you lose sight of the track and now you have to get back on track and you've lost a bunch of time, or just any number of things that has gone wrong and the driver starts to get frustrated, sometimes as a co-driver, it's really valuable to be able to be in their ear and just crack a quick joke or, something along those lines to calm them down, or to say, hey, look, we only lost 2 spots. If you stay at the pace you're on, we're going to make them back up. You can't do that stuff if they can't hear you or you're trying to yell it in their ear hole. It doesn't have the same effect. It's just sometimes you need to be that calming voice to get your driver kind of back composed again.
Yeah, same thing happened with Steve Mueller and I. I won't say who the racer is, but they rammed Steve from behind and actually pushed him through a corner when I was co-driving with him. And he got fired up instantly. I mean, you're gonna. I get that. I'm not saying he was unjustly fired up at all. But as soon as the other racer got around and Steve's just going on and just, I can't believe he did that. And he was mad. I get it. I said, hey, calm down. We can't change what just happened, but we do have to calm down so that we can finish this race and drive smart the rest of the way out of here. Because if we just get fired up, we're going to lose it and we're going to drive stupid in some way.
Yep.
And he calmed down and he's like, he talked to me later. He's like, that's exactly what I needed. I just needed to calm down and be told that I need to calm down instead of just firing up more.
Yeah.
So
for those reasons, I really can't overstate enough how important I think an intercom system is. I know there are drivers that deal without them, but there's a lot of subtlety in a race that happens that gets missed without an intercom and is very useful to the driver, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
And I've really, having raced with you and with Steve and with other people with intercoms and then racers without, the job of a co-driver is so much easier with one, and the communication between the two is so much improved. Now, if you're the type of racer who you have a co-driver because the
rules require it,
the rules require that you have a 180-pound meat sack, then maybe you don't care. But if you actually drive as a team, just go put one in. You won't regret it.
Yeah. So let's get on to the intercom part of it, or the inter-buggy part of it.
The first thing you need to do is read the rules for your race series, because
I don't know if we want to limit it to just racing.
No, but since we have a pretty big racing contingent, we're going to start there.
Agreed.
A lot of race series do not allow any kind of either communication between race buggies or between the race buggy and the pits.
Yeah.
So you have to be sure that your race series allows that first and foremost if we're talking a race situation.
Now, I personally don't agree with that rule. I'm not saying I'm breaking that rule, but I'm saying I don't agree with that rule because there's really next to no benefit of, using it out there. The only way it could be is if someone radioed you and said, there's no track sweep here, here's where you can cut.
Yeah, that would be legitimately a crappy use of it, but that's going to get found out at some point as well.
Oh, yeah.
But even if they're radio back and said, look, we just saw the guy you were following that you were trying to catch. He just pulled in the pits. His buggy blew up. He's done. Don't push as hard. Just finish the race. That's not dirty or dishonest. That's just good information.
That's smart racing. I mean, yeah. And we've talked about this before. I mean, Steve was able to, I don't know if it was the first race for Midwest Side-by-Side, but an RS1 rolled just in front of him. And they allow radio communication out to track officials and the pits and everything else from the buggies. But he was able to radio the track officials, and he said the RS1 rolled on, right here in this open field section or whatever it was. And they came and they got the thing pushed back over and everything was fine.
Yeah, and so he only sat there for a couple minutes versus it could have been 20, 30 minutes before a sweep came around and found him.
Yeah.
You just don't know what the timetable is going to be.
So that's the race side of it. Now the recreational side of it, we'll call it. I'm a big fan of it. A lot of people have the handhelds. I'm a fan of the permanently mounted style.
They get out a lot better, as we've talked about before. I'm a radio nerd.
Yeah.
The little stubby antenna is what we call a dummy load, which basically means most of your power goes in, almost none of it comes out.
Yeah.
Because it's just a really inefficient antenna. If you have a good antenna system on your buggy, it's going to outperform a handheld radio by multiple factors.
Yeah, 10 to 1 maybe, something like that. Just
yeah, it's a
lot.
huge difference.
So I'm a big fan of that. Multiple reasons. I've seen many times riding in larger groups where, so the etiquette is when you get to a turn, you wait for the buggy behind you at that turn. You don't make the turn. You sit at the turn.
So if you're in the middle of the pack and you're pulling a gap on the next guy behind you, you make sure that they don't disappear behind a turn.
Right. I mean, you can leave them in the straightaway, but as soon as there's a fork or any sort of decision that needs to be made, like a trail splits, you wait at that turn for that person.
Unless you really don't like them.
Yeah. No. You wait for that person, and then you can take off, and then they wait for the person behind them. So it's kind of this chain. No one ever really gets far away as long as everyone's running about the same pace. But I've seen people that just flat out didn't follow that, didn't know that, whatever, and all of a sudden the whole back half of the group is lost.
Right.
And we're talking West Virginia or somewhere where there's thousands of miles of trails and no one is really from the area, and we've all, trailered into this, and we don't know where we're really going. So I now have a radio that I can reach out several miles and get a hold of the people in front and say, we have split from the group. We don't know which way to go. The person didn't wait for us. We're going to sit right here, backtrack your steps, and come pick us up, basically.
And so really, at a minimum, you want a radio in the front buggy in the back. That would be
the
minimum. And really, the more the merrier at that point.
And
at least if you have a few buggies with higher powered radios at the front and the back, if everybody else, like you said, if they just bought a cheap handheld just to have something, at least they have a shot at it.
The other thing, in the cheap handhelds, normally they'll reach a mile, roughly.
Yeah.
Give or take. Normally you're not any longer trained than about a mile. So you can hear it. The other thing that having inter-buggy communications does is it makes it a more social aspect. It's not just me riding in my machine. Normally what ends up happening is, as long as it's a smaller group, you can't really do it with large groups, but people start cutting up and poking fun at each other and, ribbing and just telling jokes and whatever. It makes it a more social environment. So there's really not any downfall to having an intercom in your machine or an inter-buggy communication.
And honestly, if you're not real radio, if you're not real radio savvy and you have any questions about that, just drop us a line. Again, I'm a huge radio nerd. We can answer questions about what kind of equipment's out there, what you should be looking for. A lot of people just run to rugged radios and plop down a ton of cash, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are alternatives.
And much cheaper alternatives for the exact same equipment.
So if you have any questions or want to know what the best way to mount an antenna is or anything along those lines, just drop us a line. We'd be more than happy to give you a hand with that.
Yep. I fully endorse having any sort of communication device in there.
It's never going to hurt you. You'll only be glad you have it at some point.
Yep. So,
speaking of communications, you probably have some trivia you want to communicate.
I do.
We'll see if I do any better than last week.
You got 2 right, I think, last week.
I did.
Was what it was.
Somebody probably got them all and thinks I'm an idiot, and I'm not saying that they're wrong.
I'm waiting for my email. Come on. I had way too many emails come in.
What is going on? Oh, good grief, man.
There it is. Well, work.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
Okay. Question number 1. There's several Thanksgiving ones in here because we're just tail end of the Thanksgiving weekend.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. Question number 1. It's unclear if the colonists and Native Americans actually had turkey for the first Thanksgiving. What meats did they eat that they know for sure?
Raccoon and possum.
No. Lobster, seal, and swan.
I love the seal part. Because nowadays, I can't believe you do that.
We should have seal for Thanksgiving.
Come to Eminent Performance Thanksgiving next year in 2019. I just had a picture of a guy in the big pilgrim hat, the way they dressed and everything, sitting there with swan feathers out of his mouth as he's munching on it. That's awesome.
I laughed at the seal. I didn't think of lobster, but where they were, that makes total sense.
Oh, it does.
I just didn't think of it.
So they had kind of a weird surf and turf-ish.
If you're going to call swan turf.
Sort of. Yeah, not really. It was basically a seafood menu.
Yeah, it was. Okay. Question number 2. How did TV dinners start?
Was it something to do with the space race?
No, actually not. I thought you were going to get this one. This one's been kind of cycling around this Thanksgiving, so I was throwing it in there. But what actually happened was a Swanson employee, the company who does the TV dinners, accidentally ordered 260 tons of turkey, and they had to do something with it. So,
Oh, okay.
they weren't supposed to order that much.
I'm not sure why you thought I was going to get that, but
It's been on the news and stuff like that.
that would have.
I think they were supposed to order 26.
I don't watch the news.
They were supposed to order 26 tons of turkey, and they accidentally put a 0.
Oops.
And 260. There's a bit of a difference there.
Yeah, the power of 0, kids. Stay in school.
Yeah. So they had to do something with it. So like, let's cut it up and freeze it and sell it as like a ready-to-eat
That's
meal.
actually really genius.
It's either that or lose the company probably because of that.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a lot of money.
No, I haven't been around the news much, but interesting.
Okay. Question number 3. Approximately how many turkeys are cooked each year for Thanksgiving?
For Thanksgiving, not everybody does it. It's mostly an American thing. I'll go 200 million.
46 million. You were
Okay.
slightly high. Very slightly high. You're the Swanson employee, aren't you?
Shh. Actually, my first thought was 50 million. I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe, because I'm hearing more and more Thanksgivings where people are like doing 4 turkeys, and
Yeah.
that's still a lot of turkeys.
That's a lot of turkey.
In fact, Jenny was laughing on the way home. There's this cornfield we were driving through, which in Indiana, shocker, there was a ton of turkey in there. I mean, they were just all strutting across the field, and there had to have been 50 of them.
Yeah.
And Jenny was laughing that, Thanksgiving over, everybody we can go out again. But they actually deliberately make sure that turkey season is not late fall.
Yeah.
So that they don't decimate the population, because everybody would be out.
Yeah, hunting a turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Question number 4. How many pumpkin pies are cooked for Thanksgiving?
Okay, so 50 million turkeys or 46 million turkeys?
46 million turkeys.
Yeah, but you can feed a lot of people with one turkey. Pie doesn't go as far. I'll go 90 million.
50 million.
That's about 1-to-1.
Yeah.
I was figuring,
But how many, normally you've already stuffed yourself with turkey, and a little sliver of pumpkin pie is more than enough at that point.
I suppose. Okay.
At least that's how I do it. Some people eat more dessert.
Whatever your next question is, 50 million.
This has nothing to do with Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, no.
50 million.
What is the official name of the Michelin Man?
He has a name?
He has a name.
I just thought he was the Michelin Man. Mitch?
Nope. I'll probably butcher how this is actually pronounced, but I'll spell it afterwards. Bibendum.
What?
Bibendum. That is his name.
What does that mean?
I have no idea, but that's the Michelin Man's name.
That is some good trivia. I will actually figure out how you're supposed to pronounce that and put it in the memory banks.
It's a good one, I think, anyway.
Even in the commercials, they just refer to him as the Michelin Man. So
yeah. But he does have an official name. So,
well, he's French, so maybe it means something.
Run away. Okay, question number 6. Let's go on. What islands are home to most of the world's blue-footed boobies? Birds. Get your mind out of the gutter.
It wasn't. For once. I'm not saying this because it's bird related, but the Canary Islands sounds right for some reason.
Is that your guess?
Yeah, that's my guess.
Okay. No, it is the Galapagos Islands.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
They got a lot of... There is so much wildlife packed into those. I think it's one of the most...
Like densely wildlife populated
Yeah,
areas.
like the biodiversity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Question number 7. In the Disney movie or book, The Jungle Book, what is King Louie's greatest desire? The monkey, you know.
Is it that he wants to be a human, or he wants to? I think he wants to be a human.
Is that your guess?
I think so.
No, he wants fire. Because humans have fire.
Yes. Yep. I knew it was something close to that.
Yeah. You were close. You're on the right track, but he wants what the humans has. He wants fires.
I'm going to admit to have never seen that movie end to end.
The new one, the old one, any of them?
Any of them.
Huh.
I've seen bits and pieces. I've never seen it end to end.
I've watched the old one, the cartoon, the Disney cartoon, several times as a child.
But I remember the Disney one, him singing "I Want to Be Like You."
Yeah.
But it's because he wants fire, not because he really wants to be
right.
a human. I figured he wanted something out of it other than just being a human.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
I have not watched the new one end to end. I've seen parts. Meh.
Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Question number 8. Who comes after the U.S. vice president in the line of presidential succession? So should the president die and the vice president die, who becomes the new president?
I think it's the Speaker of the House.
You are correct. It is the Speaker of the House. Very good.
There's a really good show out. It's called
Lone Survivor, is it that?
I think it's Designated Survivor.
Designated Survivor. That's what it is. Lone Survivor is like a war one. Yeah.
And so I don't actually think it's true that they do this. I think they came up with this premise for the show.
Yeah.
I don't think they actually do this. Like, hey, you need to sit home in case we get nuked.
I don't know. I've heard that.
But whether they, I tried Googling, like looking it up, and I couldn't find anything that suggested that they actually do. Maybe they do.
I don't know.
But it's the whole premise is this guy is the Secretary of Urban Housing and Development.
Yeah.
And he's the designated survivor, and there is a terrorist attack, and it wipes out everybody. I mean, all of the Congress, like it's the State of the Union.
So it's a feel-good movie.
So everybody is there. So yeah, it's a feel-good movie. Like I laughed out loud. No, just kidding. But he's now the president.
Yeah, I've seen the previews for that. I haven't watched it.
It's decent.
Yeah.
It's watchable TV, which is becoming hard to come by.
Speaking of watchable TV, question number 9. The Simpsons. What is the name of the frozen drink sold at the Quickie Mart?
I have no idea.
You should know this.
I don't. We've covered this. I don't watch
care.
The Simpsons.
You should start watching it because there's obviously a lot of questions that I do based on that.
I don't know. Duff Slushy. I don't know.
It's the squishy.
The squishy. Okay, I can see a poo saying that.
Yep.
The squishy.
The squishy.
So not the slushy.
Nope, it's not a slushy. It's the squishy.
Nice.
So, okay, question number 10. Last one. What is Biff's last name in the Back to the Future movies?
It's either Tanner or Tannen.
Please choose what you would like.
I hate you. I think it's Tannen.
You are correct.
Okay. Why was I thinking Tanner? Oh, Dan Tanner from Roseanne.
Yeah.
I was getting my fictional weirdos mixed up.
Yeah. You didn't do half bad. What'd you get?
2.
2 right?
Again.
Okay, yeah, you did.
And I was on track with a couple of them. But
so you did worse than half bad.
Oh, way worse than half bad. 2 is kind of my average, I think. If I get 4, I'm pretty happy. 5 is like, what happened? But it is funny because like the Jungle Book, you should get that, right? I've never seen it end to end.
There you go.
Stupid Stuff with Chad.
Okay. What are we doing?
We are doing adult downhill big wheel racing.
Oh, have I never told this story?
You have not.
Wow. I was having this same discussion with my wife the other day because she mentioned one and I don't even remember what it was because we were out to dinner and I didn't write it down or send myself a message. She's like, did you tell him this one? Did you tell him this one? And I said, I don't know. I honestly don't remember anymore. I said, we've done 60 episodes. Not that I've run out of things. I just don't remember which ones I've told them.
You may get repeats at some point, but they're still hilarious.
So
you go down to ride the Tail of the Dragon.
Tail of the Dragon. That is Deal's Gap. Many of you have heard it as that. It's on the border of Tennessee and North Carolina.
Correct.
318 turns and 11 miles, and they are all switchbacks pretty much. You could burn up a set of tires in one day there.
Oh, yeah.
So I went there with a group of other sport bike riders, and I don't know how we planned this, but we did it for a couple years, basically. And when we weren't riding the bikes, we were having cookouts and stuff like that. And so as one of the activities, not on the tail of the dragon, but on a side road, because they're all twisty and steep there anyway, we decided to have adult downhill big wheel races. Year one, it was kind of like everyone just grabbed a kid's big wheel. You know, it is what it is. Why not? And brought it and raced it. Like we talked about at the beginning of the show, I kind of tend to go to extremes.
A bit.
So the next year, and I think you got to ride it, didn't you?
No, you broke it.
Oh, did you?
I think
you didn't ride it before.
You finished it up like the night before, threw it in the truck and left.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I built my own adult-sized big wheel. And it's like everybody else is on, kids' ones, and, their knees are tucked up to their ears, and the handlebars are, they're trying to pedal and everything else, and it's hilarious watching them. I built mine. I literally cut a mountain bike in two, bent the frame down to make it a double wishbone frame down. Put the back tires were from a Polaris 90cc four-wheeler on it, and the front tire was still the mountain bike, like 21 inch.
I think it was 26 inch.
26 inch tire, whatever it was. And the seat was out of a boat. I mean, like a real full-size boat. It was legit.
It was something.
Big wheel size thing. I won that year. I passed the pace motorcycle that was going in front of me.
There's actually a video. You were pushing him.
I was pushing.
Go, go,
I was
go.
on the brakes trying to not hit the back of him until I could get around the pace bike. He's laughing in his helmet. You can hear him on the film. We'll try and find that. It's funny. Anyway, I think I hit 53 or 54 miles an hour on this thing. We had to stop at that one after the second annual run because two guys crashed off the side of the mountain and had to be airlifted out. So
Details
like that. Yes, but that was the end of my big wheel racing career.
And so I know what you're thinking. How did you get started in this thing? So he actually, think of the old giant wheel bicycles like from the 1910s.
Yeah.
And they have pedals just welded directly to the center shaft.
That's what I did.
Yeah. So he's got pedals like a big wheel. He actually has pedals on it and the whole nine.
The kind of, I guess, the stupid thing, I should have probably stopped. I broke that on start. So I broke the axle on start. I finished the race, broke an axle. And that's the only wheel in the front.
The wheel's just hanging on by one side.
Well, it's just kind of like it hadn't unthreaded and pulled all the way out.
Yeah.
And I'm going 50-something miles an hour on a broken axle. And you can see in the video, it's the wheels flopping, going this way and then that way. I'm like, this could be really bad, but I'm going to win.
Completely untested, broke it at the start, rode it down anyways.
Yep. That was great. So,
see, that was a good one.
It was. I forget all the dumb things I do.
Well, this has turned into a seriously long episode.
Yep, we're
but
sorry.
It's the last one of season 1, so you get a little bonus material. You should be thankful. We're going to kill it here.
Yeah.
Do want to say thank you to our sponsors one more time for this last episode of season 1. And we're probably going to have some fresh faces on here for sponsorship in season 2.
Hopefully, yeah.
But as always, we do want to thank Watch Communications for hosting the podcast and the website. And the code is valid, at least for now. I don't know if that'll change with season 2, but
we'll see.
If you want web hosting, get in now. Waste of Time, all lowercase, no spaces, will get you 1 month of free hosting.
Yep.
And if you live in rural Indiana or Ohio and you can't get internet access that's worth a darn, talk to them. They may be able to hook you up if you're in their service area.
Yep.
Also want to throw a shout out to TGM Off-Road, UTV Engineering, UTV-doors.com, Harrison Power Sports up there in Harrison, Michigan, Spanx Fab, and CW Motorsports, our friends from Illinois.
Yep, we got a couple of them there.
You can find us on the web at Eminent Performance. Our website is just eminentperformance.com. The Facebook page is /Eminent Racing. The Instagram page is @Eminent Racing. You can find the video version of this web show on YouTube. Just look for Eminent Performance or Eminent Waste of Time. And you can find the audio version on YouTube. YouTunes. Is that a thing?
No.
How about iTunes?
There you go.
Stitcher, Google
Play.
I can't even get through it. I'm laughing.
And
Google Play and
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
There we go. If I got to help, that's bad.
What a way to end this whole mess.
It's a good way to end it. It sums it up very nicely.
And no matter how many times you've said it and screwed it up anyways, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.